We just had this conversation in my sibling group chat. Are you a meet a friend on vacation type of couple? Do you guys like meeting other couples on vacation?
If we're on vacation between us, just us, yeah, sure. But
you don't mind?
With kids, it's like,
I always meet the clinger. It's just, I can't help it. It's probably, wait, I just realized, what if I'm the clinger?
I think you are.
Welcome into Scoop City. I'm the Athletic Senior NFL Insider, Dianna Russini.
I'm Chase Daniel, played 14 years in the NFL.
Man, info is flying, and I know you know I'm always texting and chatting and doing my stuff to collect info, and it is picking up. Like, my phone is starting to burn my ear.
Oh, wow.
But it's good, because there's good stuff going on, and, a lot of head coaches, GMs are meeting with their staffs today, the next few days, their scouts, and they're just having these really serious conversations about the character, about the type of guys they want to bring in here. Most teams have an idea of what they're doing and the guys that they're going after. But at the end of the day, no one knows, because no one knows how this draft is all going to come together. So I love hearing where these teams are at right now and trying to figure out how this is going to go, because everyone has their own version, their own mock draft,
Yeah.
So look, we saw reports over the weekend about Derek Carr, that situation in New Orleans, how much this has changed things, right?
Right
it was just, New Orleans is now going to have a lot of questions to answer. So we're going to talk about that. They began the first phase of their OTAs along with the Dallas Cowboys. Micah Parsons showed up for that. So all good there. So let's dive into the Saints thing in a minute. And I figured, I know you spent the weekend in paradise, but I know the Masters to you is just the best thing you could be part of, or at least view. I have a lot of questions for you about the Masters experience and other sporting events. I thought we'd sort of rank our top three, because I think we have very different ideas of what we enjoy to watch as sports fans. Because I think if you're a sports journalist and a former player, we just have different experiences. So, but with so much going on around football, let's get right to it. Here's what I'm hearing around the league.
So the Saints have a major problem with Dianna. Derek Carr, the shoulder injury. I think it's a lot of fluff. What in the world is going on with the New Orleans Saints and Derek Carr right now?
You use the word fluff. I use the word fishy.
Oh,
right.
I
So
like
I've spent the last few days digging on the story to just try to figure out what's happening here. From what I can gather, it appears the information got out from the Carr side of it. That was put out by them, because I can tell you, I had some conversations with people in New Orleans who were aware of it, but they weren't looking to put it on blast. There could be a world where the Saints put it out too, but I really believe that this is coming from Derek Carr, because I think he's the one who isn't thrilled with the Saints at this point, right? And the information was put out that he's dealing with a shoulder injury that may require surgery that could keep him out for this upcoming season. This after we know that they redid his contract.
Yeah, they just redid his deal.
Yeah, and the way they did his deal, they restructured it where basically it's in favor of Derek Carr. Like the Saints are stuck with him now, because they're going to have to pay. They're going to have a $20.5 million cap hit if they were to move on from him. So they set this thing up to make Derek feel good. He's going to get all his money here. So I thought we'd go back to talking about when they were looking for a new head coach. Because let's remember, Dennis Allen is why Derek Carr wound up there. Because remember, Dennis Allen was with the Raiders. Dennis Allen obviously is no longer there. Kellen Moore takes over. Before Kellen Moore is hired, we talked about it on the show. We talked about it here on Scoop City. Why I was hearing that Kellen Moore was perhaps a little hesitant to taking the job in New Orleans because of Derek Carr. Let's just take a listen to what we were talking about before they made the hire. There was a little scuttlebutt. I hate that word.
I actually like that word. Say it again.
You like scuttlebutt? Little chit chat about whether or not, if Kellen would want this job, and it's due to the fact that they don't have a quarterback already there in place. That was concerning. But that being said, I do think he's come around on it from what I was hearing. of just, all right, maybe this is the right spot for me. All right, so there were some question marks, but in the end, they hired him. I know. I kind of agree with old me. So
I like it.
Gosh, by the way, that was the winter, so depressing. So let's just start there with the fact that there was some hesitance, and Kellen Moore takes the job. They love Kellen there. They've surrounded him with all these veteran coaches, and they decided to stick with Derek Carr. Yet, I know that the New Orleans Saints are on a mission to get a quarterback. That's the facts. Where in this draft, I'm unsure of. I just know they are looking to get a quarterback in this draft, and you could just tell by the fact that they've had some of these quarterbacks visit the Saints facility. So pick it up for the Kellen Moore and Carr dynamic here from just like how you see it at this point.
Yeah, when he took the job, I mean, I talked to him, and he was really excited about the opportunity to go and to be a head coach, right? There's only 32 opportunities. So as soon as you get an opportunity, like regardless of the quarterback situation, if you're with a team with a good front office and a good team, you're going to figure out the quarterback situation. He obviously knew Derek Carr probably wasn't the long-term answer. They were always going to be in the market for a quarterback in this draft based on what I was hearing in New Orleans. It's just now at number 9, okay, that to me is sort of where the draft starts, because you could possibly and probably have Shedeur Sanders there at 9. You could possibly and probably have Jackson Dart there. You could possibly probably have all these other guys. Okay, Tyler Shough, we're going to talk about him in a little. Like, he's a guy that's on the Saints' radar in all these situations. How do you see these guys in a Kellen Moore offense? I think Kellen Moore is a great offensive mind. Now, we know what he's like as an offensive mind, right? How do these guys fit in? Derek Carr's not fitting into the equation. There was something that changed from the time he took the job and be like, okay, we can win with Derek Carr, to maybe Derek Carr's camp not being happy. Maybe it's they told Derek Carr's camp that, hey, we're taking a quarterback. Derek can be the starter for one more year, and then we're going to start this other rookie. Like, I can imagine something like that going, and Derek Carr being like, hold up, I don't want to be a placeholder. I want to have a situation where I can go and I can be a starter for 2 or 3 more years in my career. But it's just crazy that it was like the Friday news dump to where I could tell that Kellen Moore and Mickey Loomis, the GM, they're probably on the same page. And that's another thing that people, they don't have to take a quarterback at 9. 9 is really rich. What if you ride with Spencer Rattler in a 2nd or 3rd round guy and wait to next year knowing you're probably not going to win a whole bunch of games? And next year there's Drew Aller. Next year, possibly Arch Manning. There's a lot better quarterback class. Kate Klubnik is next year as well. So there's a lot of situations going on. To me, if you're number 9, that's sort of the start of the draft, because you could see possibly a quarterback going number 9 overall to the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, and maybe this is Derek Carr looking at the situation going, I don't want the Kirk Cousins treatment. I don't want to be your quarterback. You guys draft a young guy coming in here, and it's basically when is he going to play, right? Which then makes a quarterback room tense. What is that like when a veteran quarterback like a Derek Carr, who I think this is out of character for him. For him, I understand it. But what is that like in a room where everyone knows essentially what's happening? There's no hiding it.
Look, I was a part of that room in 2016. Excuse me. For the Philadelphia Eagles, Sam Bradford was on the roster. Okay, I was on the roster. I had just gotten paid probably my biggest deal to date with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's when Doug Peterson took over. I was told, hey, we're going to let you and Sam compete for the job, but I knew it was Sam's job, so I wasn't too worried about it. They draft and move up for Carson Wentz number 2. So Sam Bradford and Carson Wentz were on the same roster for a little while. It was one of the most awkward rooms I've ever been a part of. You have the number 2 overall pick, Carson Wentz, probably thinking, hey, I'm going to start right away. Sam Bradford was still on the roster, I believe, for a few weeks, if not a month, and then it was the OTAs, and Carson didn't really play at all because he had fractured a rib, so I was the number 2. Sam was the number 1. The first day of OTAs, we split reps. Sam Bradford and I split reps with Carson being the number 3, and then all of a sudden, like right before training camp, that dead period, right? Like right after training camp, right before the season, they trade our guy Sam Bradford away. Carson Wentz jumps from 3 to 1. But it was just an interesting dynamic because you don't ever want to be looking over your shoulder, right? And that's probably what Derek Carr's doing. He's getting out ahead of this. Like, they're probably going to draft a guy. They're probably not going to roll with me. Let me try to find a situation out. It's just all these, I don't know what team he goes to like this year because there's a lot of teams that don't need quarterbacks anymore. The Steelers, the Vikings, the Browns are the 3 that I think of that probably need quarterbacks that Derek Carr could get traded to. This is just a full-on out like, hey, I'm going to sit out a year. You still owe me my money. Or if not, let me go get a starting job.
Yeah. I wonder if there is a little bit of, let's just call it an excuse made here with the shoulder. So Derek doesn't look bad asking for a trade because of the situation.
Yeah, I think it makes him look worse. Honestly, like if you're going to say that, just say you want to trade. There's plenty of that. And I know he's trying to like tiptoe around it, but we view, honesty. It's so fitting to be honest nowadays because everyone asks for a trade. You're not the only person to ask for a trade. You're not a bad teammate
and
to
I think
ask for
people
a trade.
understand it.
Now it's fishy, like your word says. It's what was my word? Not what was my word? Do you remember? Fluffy,
fuzzy,
fluffy, fluffy.
I like
fluffy and fishy.
I like fuzzy better. Fuzzy's better. But no,
all that situation.
I will say I did have a lot of text messages and conversations over the last few days about the Derek Carr situation. And it was very hard for me to find someone in football who said, oh, Derek's definitely dealing with a serious shoulder injury. It was, how long you been doing this? You know what this is about, right? And trade bait, right?
Yes.
End of the day, that's what this is about.
You texted me when this went down. You're like, what's happening? I was like, this is not normal for Ian Rappaport retweeted it or tweeted it. I'm like, that for sure had to come from Derek Carr's agent because there must have been like a meeting. Let's get it out right away. Like, it's just.
Well, look at the timing of it, right?
Happens.
We're a little over a week away from the draft. Teams are still in need for quarterback. People are making their decisions. Maybe this is to allow teams some flexibility and understanding with what they want to do in the upcoming draft. There's a lot more to the story. Now, that being said, while this is all happening, so the Derek Carr news comes out, and it was the same day that Louisville quarterback Tyler Shough was visiting with the New Orleans Saints. He's taken visits with the Cleveland Browns, the New York Giants, and Tyler Shough is a player in this draft who I can tell you a week out from the draft, his stock is rising. He is a name that I am hearing in league circles way more now than I was just 3 weeks ago in terms of a QB on the board that could be taken in the first round.
Wow. That is some news. And honestly, through the whole process of it, like Tyler Shough was probably the 4th or 5th quarterback that I watched film-wise because you didn't really hear about him. He's been to Oregon, Texas Tech. He's been to Louisville with a lot of, he's got an injury history. He's 25 years old. He's borderline too tall for a quarterback, right?
Yeah, 6'5".
6'5", and that's sort of like the line of demarcation, right? For these NFL coaches, they think that like 6'5" and over guys, if you look at the history of the game, especially like 6'6" is the number, you're almost too tall. You're almost too flimsy. You're flailing. They like them a little more compact. But when I watch them, first of all, I don't care about the age. And we talked about this on our last show. It was like the age of 25. I believe he'll be 26 in his first NFL season. I view it as a pro. I don't view it as a con. This dude has played a lot of football. Now, the injury history gives me a little bit of pause on what's going on. But when you're like this, like look at Bo Nix. Now, Bo Nix wasn't 25, but look at the quarterback out of Atlanta, Michael Penix Jr., right? Like they were both old. He's going to get through his first contract, be 30 or 31, and still get another chance at a second contract. That's what teams want. That's 8 years of leeway, which is right in the pro status of like the prime of the quarterbacks. He does have some traits and some qualities that will make you go, wow. Like the way he throws the football, the way the ball comes off of his hand, those are all well. But at the same time, there's some plays, Dianna, that will show up on film that make you go, what is he doing? Like a random like freak out. Like he almost is like, it's funny that we're talking about this in the Saints block. He reminds me a little bit of like an early Derek Carr where if he gets pressure, it's just like, oh my gosh. Like truly, like that's what I see on film. Like in a good system, though, I mean, he checks all the physical traits. Now, mentally, how does he do on the board? But I do think he could be a surprise, especially, I don't think he's going to go into that quarterback 3 territory where I have Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart sort of at. But I do think he's legitimate at number 4.
Chase, I had a head coach in the NFL, a current one, tell me that he thinks that Tyler Shough is the best quarterback in this class. And I even said, better than Cam Ward? He said, better than Cam Ward. So
really,
this is why the draft is such a gamble. You don't know. You don't know. You have the opinion of one coach saying this, and then you have another who probably would have a completely different opinion in all this. But just the fact that there's one coach that I spoke to that told me this tells me.
Is he going to draft them? I mean, only takes one.
We'll see. We'll see. It wasn't Brian Callahan. I'll let everyone know now.
Okay.
No.
All right.
So, look, this is the time of year when this stuff happens. And every year, this is what happens about
There's
a
always
week
a
out.
surprise.
Start hearing these names. We heard Michael Penix last year. We heard Bo Nix. All of a sudden, it was like, wait, what? No, where? What? Who? I'm like Googling these players that I didn't even know of, and then they go.
I will say the last thing about Shough is like he is probably, Diana, other than Cam Ward, in my opinion, the most pro ready to play like right now. Like I've always said on this show, right? Like I think Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, and everyone else, they probably need a year or two to sit. Now I don't know if they're going to go in that situation, and quite honestly, quarterbacks are pressed into play. I think Cam Ward's ready to play right now. I think Shedeur Sanders is close, and Jackson Dart maybe needs a year. Other than that, I think like Cam Ward, Tyler Shough is the most pro ready to play.
Look, don't ever discount owners on draft night. I have seen this for years, where once an owner gets involved, you'll read the board and you think something makes sense, and you'll have even intel from my standpoint, and the owner changes everything. If an owner wants them with some organizations, that's what you're going to get.
That's crazy to me because that's not a lot of organizations. Like a lot of well-run organizations. I say well-run.
You've played
They're all
on
well-run.
well-run organizations, though.
The owner has no say in who to draft.
Well, I can tell you, I know several teams where the owner has a say
I believe
who
it.
they're going to draft. I mean, look at some of these draft.
You think the owners
are
are studying film? You think the owners are studying film, or do they just want to sell jerseys?
I mean, maybe pretending to watch the film, right? Probably sitting there with the GM with the clicker, acting like he knows what he's seeing. Maybe look, some of these owners do know what they're looking at. I'm not sure who's really studied it, but at the end of the day, when these draft prospects are meeting with these teams and they're going to dinner, there are very often times where the owner is joining them. Jimmy Haslam met with some of these guys, as for an example with the Cleveland Browns. So maybe it's a feel thing. Maybe it's I like this guy. So we'll see how this shakes out. We'll see what the Saints will do. I have a feeling by the next time we talk, we'll probably have an update of where the situation is and where they're going to go from here. And really what happens to Derek Carr in New Orleans. Do they stick with him and try to fix this? Or do they say,
Diana,
you know what,
they already said it. It's a distraction. If anything, they put him on IR if they can't trade him.
What's wild
the way
is
this came out.
You did mention that you could see them going quarterback in this draft, but not with that number 9 overall pick. I had someone in football tell me that, this is a team that could be changing, to an odd front. And an edge rusher it's a premium need for New Orleans.
Yeah,
so
Cam Jordan is not getting any younger.
He's a star on television, but he's not getting any younger. You said getting older, by the way. It's getting.
I changed to getting younger. Relax.
Oh, I didn't hear your correction.
Yeah, you didn't hear me because you overtalked.
I'm old and deaf. Great. But that being said, so having you on the show is always so great when we dive into the backup quarterback situation, right? So we brushed on it real quick about how Joe Flacco, he is now back with the Cleveland Browns, which, can we just do a timeout? They had the chance to have Joe Flacco last year after he had so much success. And we crushed Cleveland on the show for that, all because they were worried about Deshaun Watson. And I think I even recall I took the side of the organization in terms of my opinion on it of, all right, let's just give Deshaun Watson every shot we possibly can psychologically and take out any conflict or issue or competitiveness. And obviously we saw what happened when they didn't have Joe Flacco. And Deshaun gets hurt, and it's the Jameis Winston experience and whatever that was. So now he's back in Cleveland with Kevin Stefanski. He signs a 1-year, $4 million deal, up to $13 million, though, with incentives. Which
Interesting. That tells me that he's not the starter right away.
Correct. So I think a lot of people saw that news, and they said, well, Kenny Pickett's there, Joe Flacco's there, Cleveland's not going quarterback. I read that as, who's their starter? Who's going to be the starter for the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, it's interesting to know, like, day one OTAs, like when they get on the field, because the draft picks can't be there till a little bit later. Who takes the first snap? It's got to be Pickett, right?
No, it's got to be Joe.
You think so? Joey Flacco? I don't know. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see.
Why'd you say Pickett?
I think it'll rotate, but Pickett's been there longer, even though he just got traded.
Yeah, I mean,
But
my
Flacco-
only thought was because they gave up assets for him, maybe. But
Yeah.
if I'm Kevin Stefanski and Joe Flacco's run my system, Joe's going to...
Yeah. That's a backup
Right?
deal, though. That's
is
what
a
I
backup
saw.
deal.
It's a backup deal.
All right, so we'll see what they do. Okay, so then when I bring up Kirk Cousins, because we've talked about that on the show, that Kirk Cousins was on the board there with Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't want to take on all that salary. We know that. We'll see if that changes. Could you see Cleveland still engaging?
Yeah, I think you have to if you're Cleveland. I don't think they're going to take. I think they end up taking Travis Hunter. Probably. I think they probably go offense, even though I said they probably need to go defense. I think I could see Travis Hunter there. It automatically gives them a playmaker offensively that could play some nickel or corner in certain situations. That's how I view it. You got to get a quarterback, though. And so I don't know if I'm Kirk, do I want to go there? Like, do you think he's the, like, long-term starter there? No, it's probably for a year. They're probably going to be in the market for a quarterback next year as well. I don't know. If I'm Kirk, I'd probably rather go to Pittsburgh with those two receivers, DK Metcalf and George Pickens, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't go there. But then I feel like there's a possibility where he just stays put and makes, like, insane backup money.
I can't believe we're a week out from the draft and we don't know who the Pittsburgh Steelers starting
No clue.
quarterback is.
No clue.
This is
Zero.
crazy. And I know Mike Tomlin will be cool about it and say everything's chill. You know, they've got Shador Sanders visiting with them, right? So all these draft prospects are wrapping up all their visits here over the next few days. Abdul Carter was with the New England Patriots after spending some time with the New York Giants. So you have all this stuff because everyone's wrapping up here because we are here. We are at this point. So to me, you see Shador Sanders visiting with the Steelers. That tells me that the Steelers are probably looking at the quarterback market here coming up in the draft, whether or not they have Aaron
absolutely
Rodgers or not.
Yeah. I mean,
knowing
they're drafting a quarterback, Diana, at 21. I'd be super surprised if they don't draft a quarterback at 21. And in fact, I could see them trading up if a Dart or Shador are still on the board there. If not, I mean, look, there's been a lot of stuff about Jalen Milroe. And we had Dane Brugler on, and he loves Jalen Milroe. I like Jalen Milroe. It's an interesting project, but could you see Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Milroe in Pittsburgh? Yeah, sign me up for it.
It never ends. All right, really quickly before we go and take a break, I wanted to get your thoughts about something because I had a conversation with a head coach this morning about these meetings that they're all having in these buildings about the character of players.
Yeah.
And weighing character versus talent and how it affects a locker room. And we were just ripping through some players this coach had drafted over the years that he went against his instinct of going for the good character guy and chasing the talent. And in his experience, it had never worked for him. He is flopped out, struck out. So he is very decisive about where he's at when it comes down to it. And he just kept trying to make the point of, it is my job to build the culture of this team. And then I hand it to the players to build it. And once it's established, it is hard to change what you are. And when you bring in let's just call it a bad apple, that's when you lose the locker room. That's when the problems start. Yeah. So as someone that's been in locker rooms, who's been with bad apples, bad players, have you ever been part of a team where like they draft a guy that you know is shady or just, I don't know, man, he's a me guy. How does that affect?
That's a good question. Maybe not drafted, but I've definitely been on some teams with some bad apples, whether they're veterans or they sign them in free agency. And the second he enters the locker room with a good culture built, you can tell. And he stands out like a sore thumb. Whether it's like, oh, the work ethic, whether it's like, I don't want to do this, whether it's talking down coaches, whether it's this and that. Look, you're on a team to build it up. You're not on a team to tear it down. Unfortunately, there are some players in some situations where maybe the head coach doesn't nip it in the bud right away. You see, I got that nip it in the bud, not butt. See, I got that right. I got it right.
I wrote it down. Chase won.
Where do you nip it in the bud? And I've had I'm not going to say the team, but there have been situations where, you sign a guy to a 3-year free agency deal, and after 6 months of playing, the guy is cut because he just doesn't quite fit the culture. My biggest thing is those teams I've been on that are great. It's a player-led accountability team, meaning the players take accountability to lead. Look at the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce. All three of those guys are in the front. And that's what Andy Reid told us when we sat down with him. I'm focused away from setting the culture. The culture's already set. I'm putting it on my players to do it because the players respect other players. Not that the players don't respect coaches, but when they see the leaders leading in the right way from the front, they want to attach themselves to greatness. And I think that's what you need on a team.
Yeah. By the way, has this been the quietest Chiefs offseason ever?
That's what they want.
I have not seen. I saw Patrick at the Mavs. I saw Patrick at the Mavs game. I didn't see Travis at Coachella. I usually see him there. When I say see, I act like I attend these events. I don't go anywhere. I don't leave my house. It's called
Dianna at Coachella. Okay.
I would love to do that. You wear just like a net and you walk around and you sing
Stagecoach
songs.
better. Stagecoach. Country. It's country Coachella.
All right, before we take a break, guys, the NFL draft, as we've mentioned over and over, is almost here. Next Wednesday, so the day before the draft, Chase and I are going to do a live draft show. So Scoop City, you'll be able to hear it in your feed on Thursday morning, but we're going to go live on Wednesday. So make sure you check that out because that is probably where I dump my entire notebook leading up to the draft because that's it, right? We might as well. Go for it the night before the draft. So you can check us out on YouTube, watch us live. You can hear all of our mistakes in live form before they're edited. I know it probably shocks you that this gets edited, but it gets edited.
You turn it on like I've never seen before on these live shows. You don't make mistakes.
Oh, see, so I love you. Then on night one, okay, so night one of the draft, make sure you check out the football podcast. Robert Mays hosts our mega show. I know it's natural probably as a viewer to want to see it on TV because there are definitely some benefits of it. I like watching ESPN or the NFL Network on, and I will have Robert's football show on my computer
reactions.
Because the reaction and the analysis is so well done by the guys over on that show. So make sure you check that. They begin at 7:30 Eastern on Thursday, April 24th, and then they'll go again on Friday at 6:30 Eastern on April 25th. So we are getting there, guys. So make sure you check that out when we get back. Chase, how much would you want to play college football these days in this new NIL era?
You have no idea.
Oh, I know. I need to get your thoughts on what's going on in Tennessee. I want to talk to you about just the landscape and how the NCAA to me, needs to get a grip of this thing. We'll be right back. Back here on Scoop City, where I know the NFL is always catching our attention, and it's usually what we're talking about here, but we cannot ignore what's going on in the college football world, where Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava situation. I know you had a lot to say about what's going on there. And just to give the quick backstory here, Nico was at Tennessee making around $2 million, wanted to make $4 million, didn't show up to practice. And it was essentially the college version of a holdout. And the school decided, you know what, Nico, we're good. So he now entered the transfer portal. And this has just become the story because he was one of the first multi-million-dollar college NIL athletes here.
Yep.
So we knew his name for a reason, despite the fact that I know I hacked it up a little bit there. So this story goes down, and you immediately responded to it with some vigor. How do you see this thing?
It's just an interesting situation. Obviously, you played college football at a really high level. I'm all for players getting paid. Let me just preface that and say it again. I am not a hater when it comes to this. I want these young men to make all the money in the world that they can, because quite honestly, some of these schools are making hundreds of millions of dollars just in their conference, with football being the primary breadwinner in all this situation. I saw this was not an attack on Nico. I saw this as a complete undoing of any guidelines or rules or guardrails of the NCAA and the NIL era as it is. This is a major roadblock, in my opinion. I say that because a college kid, okay, he's a college kid. He was making $2.2 million at Tennessee. Over the life of the deal, I think he was due $8 million, Dianna. He was unhappy. He decides he wants to sit out. He's really the true first. I'm not going to show to practice today. I'm not going to communicate. That's where I think Nico went wrong. Josh Heupel, the head coach for the Tennessee Volunteers, he had no idea he wasn't going to be there. And it was right before the spring game. Okay? So first and foremost, I want $4 million. I want almost 100% more. Because of what? Because of 9 touchdowns and 3 interceptions against SEC opponents. They made the playoff. I get that. He's a very young person. I have issue with the people in these players' corners that are giving them bad advice. That is my issue with the whole college thing. And when you look at it, the college football calendar, that's what I have a huge issue with. You had teams, okay, and players that were in the playoffs right before the playoffs start. There's a transfer portal window that starts. They're trying to get more money. Everyone is. If your team makes the playoffs, SMU, Tennessee, Ohio State, you have players in the middle of a playoff run when you're chasing a championship say, I want more money, let's renegotiate, before the game even happened. Tell me why that's on a calendar. And then there's a second free agency period, right? Think about it as NFL, okay? Could you imagine a second free agency period, Dianna, after OTAs? After OTAs, when your whole system is set in stone. And then that's my issue. You're not allowing these colleges to be competitive. There has to be a guideline or some guardrails to keep it in. Now, I think with this new rev share coming up, I think that matters. I think that'll sort of even the playing field for a lot of these colleges. But when you do this, first of all, it just makes you look bad. Like Nico, it makes you look bad, okay? Because you're setting out, and think about your teammates. Did we forget in the game of college, there are teammates. What do you think your teammates think of you when you do this? And that's what Heupel said. He said, there is no one bigger than the Tennessee Volunteers program. And this was a smart move, in my opinion, to move on from Nico. Now, they might suffer, but I think they'll be just fine. They still got some money they can spend on the quarterback. But that's just my whole issue as a whole. Sorry for the soapbox.
Yeah. No. I see your point, and I've heard it from other people as well. In the NFL space, I can tell you there was a lot of reaction because it is the Wild West era right now with NIL. It is difficult to understand. It's difficult to navigate. Nobody has a playbook. I would be embarrassed if I was the NCAA right now of just how this has played out. I just feel like it's out of control. And turning down more money to stay tells something to teams versus making it about you and making yourself bigger than the team. Whether you like that or not, that is the reality. And NFL teams are watching that. I had conversations with people in football about this, and they're talking about this now on these draft prospect visits.
Yeah.
Where they're sharing their stories. And I spoke to a GM who said, we had a guy in who shared with us the amount of money that he could have received if he went to a different school, but he didn't want to do it because he had that same idea that you shared, which is he owed his teammates. They were building something together. And I don't think there's anyone guilty of anything in this. I feel for Nico from a space of he's just trying to do what's best in his mind financially.
Yeah, it's free market. It's a free
knowing
market.
that you don't know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you see the other side of how maybe in the early years of his career here, he will be making more money, but perhaps he could be making so much more by sort of shouting to the world, like, look, yeah, I could do this. I could make more, but I chose this. I chose this program. But then again, does character get you paid? I don't know this answer. And it applies to a lot of different fields of doing the right thing.
And I agree that it's a free market. And like I said, I'm all for guys getting paid. We're talking about a college athlete making $4 million a year, though. And I get, we don't know if he's going to play pro. We think he has the talent to play pro. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where he's going to end up, all that stuff. But for me, it's like, it's bigger than one person. Now, he sort of set sort of the tone of like, oh, man, this is what could happen. That's sort of why Nick Saban, he had the foresight to be like, hey, I don't want to deal with this stuff. Like, I want to go. And to me, like, what's the end game here? The NCAA, they need a small governing body to set these rules and these guidelines so you're able to maneuver quickly on stuff that's ever changing in a landscape that I talked to people at Missouri where I went, they don't know what the heck's coming down the pipeline in 4 months. Like, how do you know? You're literally just flying by the seat of your pants. Eventually, and I think this is where some teams have hired these GMs, these general managers of these programs. They're going to go to a pro-style level of front office. And in talking to some head coaches in the NCAA and the FCS, that's the only way to do it. You're going to need a collective bargaining agreement eventually. Like, unless they can figure out something, you're going to need a CBA. You're going to need a salary cap. You're going to need all these little different levers that you can pull to protect the program. And I'm not pro-program. I'm not pro-player, so don't get that twisted. I'm just saying this is the reality of the situation. It's what you're saying,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Look, Nick Kosmider, he's our Denver Broncos beat reporter, but he did a more of a national perspective on all this over at The Athletic, the new NIL era, and how it transformed draft evaluations for teams. Okay, so it's like this little niche way to look at it all, how the player pool changes because a lot of the players who don't think they'll be picked in the top rounds will return to school for NIL checks and then declare when they're older. You have that factored into it. Terry Fontenot, the Atlanta Falcons GM, shared with Nick that it's a unique landscape that we're still figuring out. And I think that's essentially what Chase and I are sharing here. We don't have the answers. I'm very good at finding problems and addressing them. I'm not a good problem solver. I don't know how to fix it. But this is just going to continue to snowball. And Nico's really the first really big example. But he ain't going to be the last one.
No,
there's no way he's going to be the last one. I think we're going to see a lot more of this. All right, with that, let's take a quick break, Chase. We've tiptoed around this long enough. We've done it. Let's do it. Let's talk Masters. We'll be right back. All right, back here on Scoop City, and I know we spent some time talking about the quarterback situation at the start of the show. I was driving around over the weekend, and you know I love my sports talk radio. I can't get enough of it. And here in the New York, New Jersey area, WFAN is, it's king.
Oh, yeah.
And they were talking about the Giants quarterback situation, and my buddy Salicata had just a take on how he views where the New York Giants franchise is at quarterback. And I wanted to play it for you because I really just want to get your thoughts.
Yeah.
So let's take a listen to this.
They had the 6th pick last year, and there were no quarterbacks good enough for them. But Sean Payton could draft Bo Nix and turn him into a playoff quarterback. Atlanta, who already paid $1 billion for Kirk Cousins, can identify Michael Penix and say, holy crap, this guy fell to us, we have to take him. So other teams can take a risk even in not ideal situations. With Dable and Jane, it's like, oh no, it's got to be perfect. Everything's got to be perfect. This guy's got, no, if it's not Jaden Daniels or it's not Drake May, we can't take him. No, we need a wide receiver. Wrong. You were wrong last year. Now this year it's going to be, oh no, we don't like Shedeur Sanders. We're not going to trade down for Jackson Dart. We're going to get Abdul Carter, the best player available. Wrong again. How many years is this going to go down the road? Now, drafting Shedeur Sanders could turn out to be a big mistake, but I'd at least respect the fact that they took a risk in getting the most valuable commodity in the NFL, especially after they screwed up last year by not doing it.
That is what I imagine sports talk radio in the New York and New Jersey area to be.
I knew you were not going to listen to the content. I knew you were going to comment about the language and tone and volume we use. Like that right there is my kitchen table. Like Sal lives in my house.
He's got great points. But also from an outsider, right? He is obviously on the inside, knows, I respect his opinion. But do you want to take a chance on Shedeur Sanders? Like, that's where we've gotten to as New York Giants fans, is you just want to take a risk. And that's a huge risk if you hit or you miss at quarterbacks. When you draft a quarterback in the first round, it's like a 40 to 35% hit rate on it. That means 65% of the time you are going to miss on a first round quarterback. So that's all I'm saying. But yeah, it's a great call. It's a great call. It just
the fact that they knew. Did you just feel like you're talking to me?
So loud in my ear.
It was the point that I know. I apologize for those outside the New York area who watch and listen to us. But that's normal for me. That's
I love
just
it.
my life. The fact that this organization knew about what this draft class was like, and granted, they had Daniel Jones then. At least they had that experience to lean on, and then it just, I feel like 2024 for the Giants, even a little bit of 23, will be the one that this regime they're going to look back on this in 20 years and just be like, oh. And
he said something about Malik Neighbors though, and Malik Neighbors is the guy. So I'm glad they have really Malik Neighbors, because Correct. I'm like, and quite honestly, I would have taken Malik Neighbors over Bo Nix or Michael Penix. Like,
you're saying if you were in their shoes at the time?
Yeah. Because like
with what Sean you Payton know now?
Well, that's unfair. You didn't know that when you were doing it. When we know what we know last year, I would have taken Malik Neighbors was a freaking superstar.
Okay, but their point
you didn't know what Bo Nix was going to be. You didn't know what Michael Penix was going to be.
Their point was that Raheem Morris and Sean Payton both knew that those two quarterbacks were not perfect, but they could see the good and figure out a way to get the best out of them. Look, the jury's still out. I think on Bo, we know he's going to be good because he'll be under the tutelage of Sean Payton.
We don't know what Michael Penix is.
But isn't Brian Dable considered to be that great too?
He is. No, that's true. That's true. So you got a point there.
The point is, play into the strong characteristics of your HC, which he can get a quarterback to play. And unfortunately, we haven't seen it on full display. So we'll see what they decide to do. And the reason why we just keep going back to the Giants, because they are the most talked about team right now in football, because nobody has a clue what they're going to do. And it is hard to figure out what is best for them. I know Sal wants to see them take quarterback, but I know there's some fans out there who just want to see best player available, knowing that maybe
they have to go best player available.
And build.
They have
and build.
to.
I know. Best player in the world right now? Rory McIlroy? Guess so?
Yes. It's not even close.
Grand Slam?
6 of them, Diana. 6. There's only been 6. There's been 2 people since 1966 to do it. Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. Come on now. Got the best swing in golf. You almost jinxed him
by saying all he needed was a par on 18 to win this thing.
Just par.
What is wrong with you?
A sandy par. A sandy par would have been nice. He was in the bunk. Okay, right bunker. He had a really nice bunker shot. In fact, did you know that these pros and these golfers, they almost prefer, if they're not on the green, to be in bunkers? Because it's a perfect lie every single time. He had a perfect lie. He was even with the hole. Left himself maybe 6 foot, 5 foot to it. And did you see the graphic that CBS put up? Said 4 career Grand Slam. I was beyond, and then he missed it. And I'm like, no, CBS jinxed him, but he ended up doing it, man. True. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It was a roller coaster. Everyone was stressed. At one point, I was getting so angry, I left the room to act like I had to do something, but I didn't have to do anything. It's almost like when you watch a scary movie and you know the shark is coming and you want to see it, but you don't want to see it. It's kind of how I felt in that moment. I wanted to see him win it, but I had a horrible feeling about it, and I didn't want to believe it. And then, of course, in the end, the emotion of it all.
Did you see him? That's the emotion. That's the emotion. No, like the emotion that he had when he went down to his knees.
Emotion. That was like euphoria. Every part of him. That was like the biggest fight with yourself that you've ever seen.
Right. Just
on camera,
a huge weight off your shoulders, man. Like he wanted to lose it.
Everything.
Oh, so good.
What's the wildest way you've ever celebrated anything? Because I was thinking, like, to show that, I would be horrified to show that much emotion publicly. But I get it. Like, you have no control over it. You just won the Masters.
I think like, the wildest way, I mean, it was obviously not in public, but because I love sports, I think watching my kid when he was like 2.5 smoke a baseball in our basement in Chicago, like a soft baseball, obviously, with like one of those bats, just pitch to him, and I think I got it on camera, maybe not, but he's like 2, he just wah, and I was like, oh, and like I just started dancing around, like flopping like a fish, like so excited, like yeah, like pumping him up and stuff like that. Probably that. It wasn't anything like crazy.
Yeah.
Like Super Bowl, I didn't play. It didn't matter. But watching my kid.
Yeah, I get it. But still, no, that makes sense. I was in college, and my junior year, I was just on a hot streak. I was scoring every game, and especially in soccer, you don't change it up. If your foot's hot, you just keep running the same play.
If your foot's hot, I've never heard that. That's what they say in soccer?
I could not miss. I mean, I say it. I don't know.
If your foot's hot?
My foot was hot. Like the ball, I just found the ball. In every scrum, I found the ball. It was nuts.
That's awesome.
So it was like the 4th game in a row, and it was Parents' Weekend, and we were playing William and Mary, and there were 10 seconds left on the clock, maybe even 30, but it was ticking down. And we were down 1 goal, and my teammate crossed the ball, diving header, upper 90. I score. Awesome, great, best goal I've ever had in my life. But an idiot, my teammates are idiots. They all jumped on me, right? Just like you always see on TV. My center back, who is probably 185 pounds, jumped on me and popped my shoulder out. And so then I wound up missing like 6 weeks. Couldn't get the magic back.
What? Oh, that would piss me off.
Like a joyous
the magic back.
occasion.
Yeah.
And I know the follow-up question should be, you play soccer, why do you need your arm? But the pain of it was so bad.
Well, what about the kickers
to this day,
that
I have
jump
a
up?
weird shoulder.
Oh,
like,
that is a weird shoulder.
Do you
Don't
see
show
it?
that to the internet. Don't show that to the internet. Hide that thing.
I know. All right,
thing.
we're going to have Kendra, our editor, blur it because you don't want to see it. It's so
Blur it
gross.
out.
It still hasn't popped back in, I don't think. But first of all, it was also embarrassing to be like, hey, I can't play, in the next few games because Kara popped it out.
That made me mad.
But back to Rory, just all the emotion, and obviously as a parent now, watching the father with the child, to me, just that'll kill me. So that being said, I think I know your number 1 favorite sporting day of the year, but I figured we'd give our top 3.
Okay.
All right. So starting, let's go backwards. So let's go 3, 2, 1.
3.
You want to go 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3?
No, 3, 2, 1. No, we gotta leave the audience watching our show a little bit longer.
If you are, we love you. Okay.
Yeah.
3 for you. Your 3rd favorite sporting day.
It's probably gotta be. I'm a baseball guy. Probably Major League Baseball opening day. Opening day is like awesome. Like it's just, especially at Padres game that we took the kid to. It's just like it's a big deal. And like I remember going to Rangers opening days as a kid. Like it was like a big deal. You miss school, you get out, you go, because the Rangers were good back then. They still are good right now, but opening day. I think opening day.
I used to love opening days. But now I just associate it with it cold because it's cold here. Like opening day, Yankee Stadium was, I think it was like 35 degrees.
It was 75 in San Diego.
My brother and all of his buddies went and they sent me pictures and it looked miserable. But it is a sign to us that spring is coming, so it does excite me. But for me, March Madness, day 1, March Madness. That is my favorite.
Oh, really?
Because I like the concept of everyone at work isn't paying attention. I like when we're all in it together. Just like on Sunday at the Masters, I knew majority of people were on their couch watching that. And I like that idea of everyone's doing something at the same time.
That's a good one.
For something.
Yeah.
So I
enjoy
enjoy that.
One.
All right, 2.
That's a good one. Number 2, college football rivalry, probably. Like the rivalry games. The pomp and circumstance behind them. Like I remember like Mizzou, Kansas when we were playing, right? But like there's so many rivalry games. And it's cool that college football was made that is rivalry week. Like this is what we're going to do. There's also so many upsets on that week. Like more than you would think. Like even though like some rivalry teams are like top 25 and some suck, like the ones that suck usually beat them. So it's cool.
When I used to anchor SportsCenter and we would do highlight shows, I used to love the rivalry games because they always filled the highlights with cool moments too to add to it. For me, my second favorite thing in sports is just game 1 of the World Series. I think I've shared this with you. I grew up like in a baseball household. Like that was what we did. It was
Yeah.
all New York Yankees. So I've seen tons and tons of World Series. And so just I associate that time of year just with great childhood memories of being so excited that my favorite players from, you know, I'm not going to go through all the Yankees, but so for me, that's it. Number one.
Come on, Sunday at the
Number
Masters.
one.
Sunday at
That's
the
it?
Masters. Not
Sunday
even
at the
close.
Masters?
Not even close.
Okay, I got a weird one, but it's true. It's the Monday after week 1 of the NFL. Okay, and here's why. Because we have been talking for months leading into week 1 of what we want to see, what we're expecting. And then Monday morning, everyone has the most outrageous takes and reaction and over-the-top headlines that I enjoy. I feel like, well, here we go, and we are off. That's why I like it.
Yeah. That is a weird
and-
one. Overreaction Monday. I get it.
Oh, yeah. It's just like that. You wake up Monday and everyone's freaking out because this happened or this guy stinks or that guy's better than we thought. And so I look forward to it because it just means football's back, baby. And gosh, we still have a long time to go before we get there. Any other
Yeah, we do.
sporting events that you look forward to seeing? Anything else that you got coming up here that you just can't wait to witness?
No, I'm on vacation. I'm chilling. Sports can wait.
I played pickleball for the first time yesterday.
Yeah, how'd you like it? Are you any good?
Loved it.
Probably not.
I'm very good. Why do you always underestimate my athletic ability? I was
I
four-sport
don't.
all-state.
It was a joke. That was a joke. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Forrest,
I
yeah,
think
go
that
ahead
you-
and shine on us. Jeez.
How about
four
you and
sport.
I, at some point here, we get together, not only have some cocktails because we enjoy that, I would like to compete with you. Whether it's golf, tennis, I'm just trying to think of, the problem is you're
Scoop
a
City
much better
Olympics?
golfer. Scoop, there we go. This summer, we
need
are
to
going
do
to
it.
do Scoop City Olympics. Okay, by the way, we are going to fight, and I cannot wait.
We should do
money
it.
on the You know what we should do? We should collect money from people around the NFL for this, and then we'll donate it. Oh, I get people to put money on me. I bet you more people. You know what? In the comment section, if you've made it this far, let me know. Who are you taking in an overall athletic event? Chase or Dianna? And we will see, and we will tally up all the answers. You're just letting me win right now, aren't you? I can see it in your face. You're like, you want it. The thing
Go
is,
ahead.
I can already hear my husband being like, you realize Chase played professional football at the highest of levels. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Pretty good baseball player, too.
I was just going to say, I forgot. You also,
Yeah.
you're really good at baseball. What position were you?
Just, pitched and played center field. We could do slow pitch softball so you could hit the ball better.
I was a pitcher and I was a third baseman.
You might beat me in basketball, though, shooting. Like, truly, like, I'm not good at all. Worst sport.
Yeah, I wasn't the best scorer, truthfully, but you can't score on me. I'm good at defense. Does that
We'll
shock
see.
you?
No.
Be all up in your grill. I hope we were not all up in your grill here in this show. We had so much fun with you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Days until we get to the draft. We're going to blow this thing out next week. We can't wait. We're going to have 3 shows, actually. So in your feed on the podcast, or in your podcast feed for Scoop City, you're going to see 3 different shows all next week. We're going to just dump everything we have, all of our thoughts, all of our opinions. So hang with us. We'll have another show later this week. Chase is wrapping up his trip, and that'll do it for us.
Bye, guys. Tag me next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.